Good day everyone, I'm Mom Roxanne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In the previous videos, I have shown you how to write the lead, the news story, and the headline. And this time, we're going to write the feature story. What is a feature story? The simple answer to that is a feature story is not a news story. Now, why did I say that? Because I want to point out the differences between the news story and the feature story. So, what are these? The first one is the treatment of issue. News have no room for opinions, you know that. But feature stories can be opinionated. Second one is on the depth of research. News are somewhat shallow because all you need to know is or are the facts or the needed data to make the news. How about for the features? Features go in depth, so it needs a deeper research. Next one is the style of writing. News stories are formal. Features can be flashy and they can be informal. Structure of the piece, that's the fourth one. The inverted pyramid is followed for news stories, but normal pyramid for features. A feature story is not an editorial or opinion piece. No, it's not. It's different. Features can use either the perspective of a first person to project engagement or the second or third person to maintain distance. And it is not an academic paper. Features are written in a way that it avoids the use of jargons and complex language that cannot be easily understood by the general public or general audience. Now, what is a feature article? It generally offers insights about people, places, things, or events that we encounter daily, but to which we pay little attention. Because of course, if it attracts a grand attention, then it must be in the news, right? It often exposes human emotions or feelings. Emotion and feelings which every reader can possibly relate. And it focuses on the most interesting, not necessarily the most important part of a story. It is always based on facts, not fiction. That makes me think that differentiating creative writing and journalism is important. A feature story presents and provides the human dimension to an event, and it tends to be original and descriptive. Original in ideas and writing skills. It is based on that mysterious ingredient in journalism called human interest. An event that appeals to us because we can relate to it, or just like what I said a while back, it is something that appeals to the emotion. It is something that arouses curiosity among the readers. Now, what are the characteristics of a feature article? First one, it may be of any length, or it can also be timely or not timely. It may be written in any form and style. Of course, your style is always the best. It usually begins with a novelty lead. It reveals something new. So even if the topic or the issue is old, you can always bring out something new from it. Now, let's move on to the types of features. First one is the personality profile. This is also called character sketch. Interviews, observations, as well as creative writing are used to paint a vivid picture of a person. A good profile includes impressions, explanations, and points of view. It should emphasize what is unique about the person. You can use a flashback technique or highlight the individual's many roles. Human interest stories. A human interest story is written to show a subject's oddity or its practical emotion or entertainment value. For example, an interview about a woman whose husband is a doctor who went to volunteer to a certain country to fight COVID but passes away while doing so. The next one is trend stories. A trend story examines people, things, or organizations that are having an impact on society. Trend stories are popular because people are excited to read or hear about the latest fads. So Parang sa ngayon, sasabihin mo kaagad, ipapatulfo kita. Why? Because tulfo is already one of the many trending shows in the Philippines. So when someone does something wrong, you say, ipapatulfo kita, and everyone would know what that means. In-depth stories. Through extensive research and interviews, in-depth stories provide a detailed account well beyond the basic story or feature. So for example, the West Philippine Sea issue, which is nagsanga-sanga na din yung issue. Like there are already other issues aside from the main issue on the West Philippine Sea. Backgrounders. It is also called an analysis piece. It adds meaning to current issues in the news by explaining them further. These articles bring an audience up to date, explaining how this country, this organization, or this person happens to be where it is now. So I would like to use this as an example. Walt Disney. So where is Walt Disney now? It's on the pedestal. Okay, so Walt Disney has been known as one of the famous cartoonists and creator. He is the creator of famous cartoon creatures such as Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, etc. If we're going to read a backgrounder about Walt Disney, you would find out that he failed many times. So he failed many times in entering the armed forces, and then he was able to put up or establish Laugh-O-Gram Studios, but it went broke, or it went bankrupt. And then he joined a newspaper agency, the Missouri newspaper, but he was fired. So those things that happened to Walt Disney, but eventually he was able to make or create Walt Disney. News behind the news stories. It is an in-depth look at the stories behind the current news. Okay, next one is personality sketch profile. These are profile stories of the rich and the famous. Readers want to know the hidden traits and lives of famous personalities. They can be some inspirational success stories. So success stories of Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and as of now, about Heidelin Diaz, who won the first gold medal in the Olympics after 97 years. And next one is science and technology stories. They concentrate on the latest advancements in science and technology with the aim of informing the readers and arousing their interests. So for example, vaccine for COVID-19. So scientists have already released documentaries and videos or informative videos and write-ups regarding the development of vaccines. Human appeal stories. They are also called concerned stories. They expose burning issues which need urgent solution. So these stories show the magnitude of the problem through cases, anecdotes, and quotable quotes. These features highlight the dramatic condition and experiences of certain groups of people, and they are written using heart-piercing presentations which evoke emotional responses from the readers. So for example, the story of India, or the case in India wherein there are lots of cases of COVID-19 with a new variant. There was a time when in social media you would see every day the present condition they have in India, that patients are even there lying on the streets because they're no longer have hospital beds. And even if there are hospital beds, they share in one hospital bed. So two patients share in one hospital bed. And you could really just see how difficult was the situation in that place. Next one is historical and cultural features. Historical events and sites can provide readers a sense of identity. By comparing the present to the past, they can see how time has changed and their environment, their culture, values, and perspectives have changed. That is why there are videos not only on the television but in YouTube. that promote or that let people know about tribes or historical places. They are showing the lives or the structure of the community of the different tribes in the Philippines, for example. How to and what to do features. They are educational in essence. They provide knowledge about process or an activity. So usually these are tips, or these are step-by-step procedures, like sets of instruction. But take note that there is a difference between the set of instructions written in technical writing from that in a feature story. Business and development features. They provide a glimpse and insight on the business world and the development of certain sector or area. This writing requires working knowledge and special interest in working operations in the business community. Lifestyle features are changing fashions and trends, lifestyles that are interesting to readers. Ano ang in ngayon? Anong uso ngayon? Anong magandang isuot ngayon? Anong saan ang sikat na kainan ngayon? Okay? Entertainment features, these are movie stars, pop singers, and show business events. These are common subjects among those people in the show business. And of course, the goal is to entertain and by entertaining them through these people or these stories, they bring relief to people. Next one is hobby features. They interest the readers who are into exceptional hobbies. So the people who are featured here are those people who have exceptional hobbies. Like, these are not common hobbies. These are peculiar and not many people are doing this. Career features focus on career guidance. Tips, these are tips or issues that may guide students or that may guide professionals in their professions. The next one is seasonal themes. These articles magnify the significance and relevance of holidays, anniversaries, and special events. Travel features are these feature stories highlight the beauty of interacting with people and places. They offer endorsements and guidelines on places where money would be worth spending. So parang mga vlogs siya. Travel feature writers demand exceptional descriptive and narrative skills. Insider feature. Insiders look at unusual occupations, issues, or events which are hidden from the public. Readers are attracted to unusual details, or these are well-kept secrets about procedures or activities that might not ordinarily be exposed or allowed to participate in. Now, let's move on to the qualities of features. What are the qualities of features? First, feature stories contain an introduction, body, and conclusion. The contents are based on the writer's development of ideas, and they can have complex narration or presentation if suspended interest structure is used. It often reflects the personality, tendencies, beliefs, and aspirations of the writer. It includes quotations from principal characters, experts, and variety of sources. It can use the elements of fictions and informal writing, and it can also use photographs, charts, sidelines, or boxes, drawings, diagrams, among others, to reinforce the message and bring life and color to the subject. Now I think it's time for us to discuss the structure of a feature story. The introduction is the most important part. It entices your reader, it hooks them in. So you can use drama, emotion, quotation, questions, and descriptions for the introduction. The body of the article needs to keep any promises, or it should answer any questions raised in the introduction. So So you try to maintain an atmosphere throughout the writing. While the introduction draws the readers in, the conclusion should be written to help the reader remember the story. So you have to use a strong punchline. Now let's have the stages of writing feature. Before setting the first draft, plan, research, gather data, organize information. Planning involves finding out what you should write about and your purpose, what to say, how to say it. So you have to limit the topic, so you will have a focus. And then choose the theme. Narrow down and focus. So consider theme, subject, and topic. Now, what happens in the writing process? Know the level of consciousness and knowledge of your audience. Find out if they read for entertainment, information, analyses, or commentaries. This will make your article more responsive and sensitive to the issues and concerns of the reader. Observe the normal pyramid structure. How about in the introduction? The introduction should be able to hook, I think I mentioned this a while back, to hook the readers. The body should sustain the interest, and the conclusion should help them remember the story. What is a story with a punch? The introduction serves as a taste test for the rest of the article, so it is crucial. Now, how do we develop the lead? How do we make the lead so we can now start writing our feature? First one is question lead. Question lead asks the reader's questions which the article will try to express and discuss. Who doesn't know Facebook? That's an example. Did you know that shopping malls are not safe? Okay. Number 2, you can make startling statements or exclamation leads to compel attention. Freedom! That's incredible! A college graduate at 12 years old. Next one is striking statement. Striking statement lead is enticing piece of information in a short, punchy format. It adds suspense. If you think the children do not understand Google Maps, think again. The next one is descriptive lead. Descriptive lead can draw the reader into the story by creating a strong image in his or her mind. The words are colorful and concrete enough for the reader to appreciate and feel the ideas presented in the story. The island wears a human face. Its tranquility is mirrored by the blue ocean. Its white sands and waving palms can comfort a weary soul. Summary lead sums up the general topic of the story, but does not follow the inverted pyramid. At an early age, Andoy and Badong serve as breadwinners for their families by selling cigarettes and newspapers by day and night. They represent the growing number of child workers in poor urban communities. Anecdotal lead relies on a conversational tone to create an intimacy between the reader, the writer, and the characters in the article. It is loaded with specific details. David met Grace in a 5-star hotel bar in Bangkok. David, in his tuxedo, was mesmerized by the beauty of the Chinese-looking female in a red gown. "Can I offer you a drink?" the bachelor asked with confidence. The woman did not refuse the gentle offer. They talked and smiled. That was 3 years ago. They now have 2 lovely daughters. Quotation lead relies on an interesting quote. The selected quotes reinforce the message of the article. Like, for example, honesty is the best policy. Contrast lead The writer sets up his subject with two apparently contradictory pieces of information. This is to emphasize two contending ideas or events. 3 days ago, Mang Kanor was driving his boss to work. This morning, he was seen driving his own car, the very first souvenir he bought for winning the jackpot prize in lottery. The next one is break formal lead. It leaves the reader's imagination on the things that happened in between events. He said he would, and he did. The next one is the character lead. This introduces the central person in a story. These are most common in personality profiles or stories in which you use an individual to represent a larger topic. Here's an example tied to the national park setting. Mervyn Wells always seems to have a smile on his face, even when his truck won't start in the morning. Now, how about the paragraph development? These are some techniques to use in developing paragraphs and sentences. First one, improve the simple narration strategy by magnifying the character of a person or an event. Instead of saying that Pedro is happy, sad, or angry, try to reconstruct the sentence by saying that Pedro was so happy that he kissed the forehead and cheeks of Mario and hugged him tight. Avoid using ambiguous modifiers such as tall, short, fat, and thin. Say, Pedro was so short that he had to climb up the acacia tree to see the parading soldiers. Animate verbs and work for sounds. Add color to the actions of the characters. Instead of drank quickly, write gulped. Walked quickly, write tiptoed. Use the active voice. Avoid cliches by reconstructing them. Play with figures of speech like simile, metaphor, personification. And you have to vary the sentence length. This is to emphasize the thought. How about writing the conclusion? It is a rule that ending of a feature story should be glorious and must show the reader that the time they invested in reading the piece was well spent. It must remind them of the main message or idea of the article. Here are some ways to end your feature story. First, you summarize the key points of the story. For example, Emilia's message is simple. We, the hope of the future, must prepare our glasses to catch each and every single precious drop of knowledge. Number 2, the argument conclusion mentions the main point of the article for the first time based on previous discussions. Number 3, straightforward questions is effective in challenging the readers and making them think through the story. Would you let malnutrition take the better of us? Number 4, offering solutions and recommendations help the readers make informed choices. For example, it is never wrong to give ourselves some time to relax in this busy world. Number 5, forecast or prediction shows a good understanding of the arguments and the implication of current situation to the future. This conclusion offers inferences on the future based on the foregoing arguments. For example, given his determination to conquer his fears, it is never impossible for Dave to become the person he wants to be. Number 6, appropriate quotations are effective in dramatizing the main points raised by the article. Example, indeed, honesty is still the best policy. Now I'll give you some tips to remember. Number 1, focus on human interest. The feel and emotion you put in the article are critical, very critical. So don't think about writing a science story. Think about writing a human interest story. Number 2, be clear about why you are writing the article. Is it to inform? Is it to persuade? To observe, evaluate? Or is it to evoke emotion? Number 3, write in the active voice. In active writing, people do things. Passive sentences often have the person doing the action at the end of the sentence or things being done by someone. Find the right voice. When you write a story, you take on a persona or character. You must choose a voice that best imparts the information in that story. The choice you make becomes the tone or mood of the story, and it should always match the content. For instance, you would not use humor to write about a tragic auto accident, right? Accuracy is also important. You can interpret and embroider, but not fudge. Keep your audience clearly in mind. What are their desires? What are the things that matter to them? Number 3, avoid cliches. Cutting edge, world-beating, revolutionary, and sentimental statements, especially at the end of your article. Interviews for feature usually need to be in-depth and in person rather than over the phone. This enables you to add in color and detail. But with the pandemic, we don't have a choice but to make a phone call and interview the person we want to interview. Use anecdotes and direct quotes to tell the story. Try not to use too many of your own words. Write clear, concise sentences, sprinkle direct quotations, observations, and additional background throughout the story. Paragraphs can be written chronologically or in order of importance. Be creative, watch, listen, read some more to get more ideas. Use transition. Connect paragraphs with transitional words, paraphrases, direct quotations. Transition is a tool that writers use to move subtly from one person or one topic to another. It keeps readers from being jarred by the writing. Talk to more than one person to provide a more complete picture, but don't just add in sources to show how much work you've done. Be ruthless about who you put in and who you leave out. Don't rely on the computer spell checker, especially those with the US dictionary, okay? And then decide on the tense of your story at the start and you have to stick to it. Consistency is the key. Present tense usually works best. Avoid lengthy or complex paragraphs. Your article will appear in columns, so 1 or 2 sentences equals a paragraph. Ideas come from everywhere, so watch, read, listen, keep up to date, take notes, talk to people outside of the field of science to find out what interests and concerns them. Getting your feature article published. How do we get our articles published? These are our useful tips. Some good feature leads include narrative, descriptive, striking statements, and punch or astonisher. Be clear about why you are writing the article. Is it to inform, persuade, observe, evaluate, or evoke emotion? I think we mentioned that. And the next one that I am going to tell you is one of the most important things you have to remember. Focus. When you prepare for your feature story, you will have to gather a large amount of information through interviews, background research before you begin writing. Focus on the main idea. The question is why? Because focusing will narrow your topic. The body provides vital information while it educates, entertains, and emotionally ties an audience to the subject. The ending will wrap up the story and come back to the lead, often with a quotation or a surprising climax. Conclude with a quotation or another part for the thread. A feature can trail off like a news story, or it can be concluded with a climax. That's all for the feature story. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, goodbye!